Hey everyone, I hope you're doing super well. Today we are going to repot and look over some of the healthcare tips of one of my favorite philodendron, the Philodendron Jose Buono. So let's get started. The Philodendron Jose Buono is special and a rare philodendron due to its mottled variegation. You can see those beautiful speckles of a lighter green that almost come in as white at first. This plant is so spectacular. Its leaves grow so long, like this mother leaf right here. This plant was actually gifted to me by my buddy Todd, who owns the Bronze Petal here in Denver, Colorado. And it started off with the big mother leaf and one smaller leaf, and has since sprouted out four other leaves, with a fifth one coming on the way. But this plant needs to be repotted because it's outgrown its pot, because it is kind of a fast grower from what I noticed. So first things first, I picked up a terracotta pot, and what I want to do is drill some extra drainage into it. Like so. Because as I've told you guys in other videos, that aeroids, the Araceae family, which philodendron fall under, they like very well aerated soil that they can breathe in, the roots can climb around in, and I don't want it to get soaked up when I water it, so I want to have some extra hold in here. So I think I'm just going to do two more. Like that, and boom, there we go. Okay, so I am going to take and put this over here and try to kind of like move this out of the way so I can use this part of the potting mat. I'm assuming that's what it's called, a potting mat, to loosen up its soil here. So this plant in particular, what I'm going to do is just use this butter knife to kind of loosen up around the sides, and there's some really good soil in here. I've had this plant for about, I want to say 6 or 7 months since Todd gave it to me, and it has truly been and become one of my favorites in my collection. And I want to continue to see it grow larger and larger leaves, just like this big paddleboard leaf here. So in order to do so, we are in growing season, which means that it needs some more space to grow. I had recently watered this, I think 3 or 4 days ago, and we had not received much sunshine in Denver up until today, so it might be a little bit soggy still, but we'll work around that. Now, this plant, like most philodendron, likes bright indirect light, but more so on the medium side, like a medium to bright indirect light. Its temperatures that it prefers are around 55 to 80 degrees, and that's Fahrenheit, by the way. And on top of that, this plant also really enjoys humidity, upwards of like 60%, which can be quite a bit. I did accidentally chop off some roots here, but for the most part, these roots look super healthy. I'm not surprised. Todd takes care of his plants and has a really beautiful collection. And like I was saying, this was a cutting from his plant, and he potted it up for me, brought it over. I had been wanting one of these Philodendron Jose Bonos for several years now, and so it's been nice to have it in my collection for about a half a year now. This is really soggy, so what I'm going to do is, once I repot it, I am not going to water it right away, because then that could lead to root rot, which is one of the biggest issues that the Philodendron Jose Bono deals with. That pot that it was in, granted, it is a beautiful pot. The drainage hole in it, there was only one, and it's a little bit small, so I'm a little bit concerned that that's what's had been stunting its growth. That said, I will use some of this soil to mix in. So what I'm going to do is gently set this down in here. And I also think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that yellowing leaf, which was its first leaf that it came with outside of the mother leaf, the paddleboard leaf here, I am going to need some rubbing alcohol mixed in with some water. So I'm going to grab that. So what I just did there was I sprayed down with rubbing alcohol and some water these shears because I wanted to make sure that on the last plant I used that if there were any bacteria or anything that it didn't transfer over to this plant as I start to repot it. I have some fresh soil here, and what I'm going to do is I am going to, let's see, we're going to take this part of it and we are going to fill it up a little bit. So start with that. Okay, and this should be fairly easy. So I'm just going to take some new soil, put it in there. I'm going to take some of this wet soil. I didn't realize that it hadn't really dried out too much. Put it in there, and then continue putting in some newer soil, then using some of its old soil, which is still really good since it's only been about 6 or 7 months that I have been using it. And then fill up this with some more new soil, mix it around. And it'll also help with mixing in the old soil. Granted, I mean, if it was more than like a year old, there's no way that I probably would have used any of the old soil. But this one still is good. It has plenty of nutrients in it. And also allowing it and mixing it in with new soil will basically allow the plant to familiarize itself a lot faster because it will recognize the soil that it had been in prior, and then also notice that there is some new soil as well. So that'll help out quite a bit. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm using rooting hormone powder. I've gone over this in pretty much every video that I've shown you guys. And this will just help with the ease of transfer of the plant with its roots into this new soil. And I'm going to take some regular water here and just moisten that up a little bit. And then I'm going to gently put this down in where its roots can start to climb around and do their root thing. And there we go. Beautiful. That's how we like it. Very simple, nothing crazy, and all will be well in the world. Now for the rest of this, I'll probably use new soil to kind of cover it up, and maybe a little splash of some of the old stuff too. But yeah, I'll probably use mostly new soil on the top part. I just want the roots to be able to establish themselves and kind of get used to some new soil too. So this will be good. Get around the side here. This plant, I can't wait for its leaves to get as big as that big one. It literally looks like a paddleboard. I have found, at least in the time that I've had this plant, that it's actually been relatively easy to care for. I have had it in a spot where it's probably getting a little bit too much bright indirect light, so that's something that I'm going to work on. And I think I'm actually also going to put a climbing pole in there as well, because this is a climbing plant and that will allow it to climb. And as it climbs, it'll continue to get bigger in size, and that will be good for the plant. I had a pair of scissors somewhere around here, but I guess I can use these shears. I just want to cut off some of this moss. So I have a spike basically to put down inside of its soil alongside of it, where the plant will be able to latch its developing aerial roots, which it already has started developing them. And doing that will allow the plant to wrap itself around this moss pole, and like it would in the wild, it would try to climb up a tree, because in the forest canopy, it probably only gets about 2% of light, if that. And so they climb up trees using their aerial roots, and that allows them to get more sunlight. The higher they get, the more sunlight they're going to get as well. So just like that, and we'll pat down the soil around it, like so. And then since I do see its aerial roots right there, what I'm going to use is some tape that I had put over here somewhere. But since I tend to lose everything, I need to find it. So instead of the tape, I'm going to actually use a piece of twine for aesthetic reasons. I just like the way that it looks more, and it'll blend into this moss pole as well, which is a good thing. And so I'm just going to gently wrap it around the bottom side like so. And then I'm going to pull this in so it kind of latches on without it being a little bit too tight. And I'm going to do another little double knot just to be extra safe. And then we shall use our scissors to cut those excess parts off. And just like that, the Jose Buono now has a beautiful and larger pot for it to move around in. And that'll be great because I was concerned that these leaves weren't growing to their full potential due to the fact that it just ran out of space. And that clearly was the issue because those roots were really wrapped up against the bottom part of that bowl, and I will, or in that pot, and I will reuse that pot for a different plant. I'm not sure which one yet, but rest assured it will go to good use. And so I'm just going to move this up like so, and there we go. So normally if the soil had been dry when I was repotting this is the part where I would water the plant before putting it back on its perch, but instead I'm just going to let it be because its soil is already moist. And now that it's in terracotta instead of ceramic, it will dry out faster, which is nice, and that's one good thing about terracotta. I'm not a fan of the aesthetic look of terracotta, but I usually hide it inside of something like a bin or a crate or something like that just to make it look a lot more appealing. But this is the Jose Buono, and those are the care tips, and that's how you repot one. And so I just want to thank you guys so much again for watching my videos. And if you haven't already, please like this video, give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel. And I'm curious to know if you folks have any Jose Buonos, what tips do you have, and what has your success rate been like with it? Share it in the comments below because I love reading your comments and I always reply. And I will see you guys in the next video.